Hello and welcome back to Business with Smith Co. Today I'm going to be talking about debt capital. So in this modern world, when we want to expand a business, what do we do? If I'm saying, okay, I'm going to head off to the bank, is that what I do? Or do I go with equity? In this episode, I'm going to talk about, equity and debt, but mostly debt, and then which one is truly better? What do you think? So when it comes to the advantages and disadvantages, there are actually many advantages and disadvantages. So basically, the main advantage would be when it comes to debt. If you choose debt capital, you've got one main benefit, and it's this. If the owners of the business decide to use debt capital, they will remain in full control of the business. They do not give up any part of the company to the lender. However, of course, what do you think happens if that business fails? Well, they're going to lose a little bit more than just their business if they don't have limited liability. But there's also the tax effect. So basically, this is the thing that actually some countries have, which is that when it comes to debt capital, some countries, some countries allow businesses to use debt capital interest payments against tax. Now what this means is that they will pay less tax if they loan money. Now the whole entire idea about this is to encourage people to, of course, take out loans, but because obviously to encourage the economy. But here's the problem. Let's say I go out and I go and then take out a loan out to buy my own home. Now that's because I don't want to rent a home. Now that could be because I'm probably paying off someone else's mortgage. That could be because, I just don't want to have the whole thing of I could be evicted at any moment. There could be a massive rise in rent. I'm basically benefiting probably a rich person. I don't want to be in that situation. There's more security if you own your own home. But of course, here's the problem. I don't have the money to buy my own home. So how do you buy it? Well, most countries, you go to the bank. And the bank say, okay, so you want to take out a loan? Okay, how much is your home? Okay, home. And sometimes, of course, banks will be like, no. You don't have enough security. No. I'm just saying this, no offense to banks, but if I have been renting a home and I've never been evicted because I've never missed a rent payment, then of course I'm just as likely to, make a mortgage payment because it's the same thing. I am paying a recurring payment when I pay for rent. Well, I'm doing the exact same thing when it comes to a loan. I'm paying a recurrent payment back to the bank, though instead. And obviously, I have more security because I don't have the risk of me losing the home, and also I'm able to cut costs because let's say there's a very expensive heating system that I have to pay for the heating in the home that I am in, but suddenly it's like, well, that's very fuel inefficient, so I could have a whole bunch, landlord, if you got a better, more up to date, or maybe just less destructive version heat system, and they go, no. Obviously, the situation you have there is, that they are going to do that. That's within their right, of course, if that's in the contract. So I might be able to even cut down on costs there. The fact is, I would say, just a bit of a tangent here, but I would just say that I think banks need to be a little bit more, obviously, property crashes and everything, not the best history when it comes to banks just letting everyone have a mortgage, but I think banks should sometimes be a little bit more better when it comes to deciding who gets a mortgage, but they're a little now and again a little bit cautious, but I guess that cautiousness is it because they learned their lesson. That's ruined a lot of people's lives, and that's the situation I'm talking about. This sort of situation where it's like, well, if I take a loan from the bank, I am not able to take that interest for that loan off my tax. So why should a business? Well, I don't know, but yeah, it encourages the economy, I guess. But I wouldn't just let just people do that in general. Then, but I guess people would just then start like overly. They just start taking out millions. I don't know. You just cap it. I don't know. There's all these sort of decisions, but another time. Anyway, but here's the problem. That's only another country. So some countries wouldn't even benefit from that. But there are many disadvantages of debt capital. There's burden repayments. If you're in debt capital, a business must pay its thing back, Let's say a business is going through a very bad patch, let's say I want to launch a new series of YouTube videos, but they're very they're very expensive to make, and I don't have that money, so I go to the bank. I'm like, okay, can I have a loan? And the bank say, well, actually, to be honest, the bank probably would say no, but it's pretend they say yes. But let's say they're not as successful as I thought, so. But it's very hard to make payments this time. Now, if there's equity, well, it wouldn't be much of a problem as long as you're breaking somewhat even. Let's say you're making enough money to survive, but not enough to make that payment back if it was a bank. And that's the problem. If the bank, the business may lose assets and close due to this. Keep in mind that this is a business that may have become very successful later on the line. There are businesses that just came so close to bankruptcy, and then they became very successful business afterwards. That, of course, is the problem. See, banks are not like investors. They do not want the business to succeed necessarily. They just want their money back. Investors, some investors will be like, no, I want my dividends, pay me my dividends, or I'm gonna, completely destroy you. But some investors are gonna be like, well, no, I can see this is the future of the business. This is at stake, so I will just, I want my money back, but I'll hold off now. We'll get through this, and even you might even be able to get the investor to maybe put in more money, and that's the kind of thing you have there. But the problem is banks are going to be like, well, we don't actually care if you're worth £1 billion later down the line. You owe us a couple of grand now, pay us our grand, or we will take your assets. And that, of course, is the problem. There's also the issue of timing of repayment. See, once again, a business must pay its loans back when the bank say they must pay. If they do not, once again, they may go bankrupt. But more than that, though, they will risk damaging its credit. And its credit rating, when it's a business, like when it's a person, it's pretty bad. But obviously, person theoretically can, if you already are, secure in your life, most people aren't, of course, which, brings up the whole issue of credit ratings. It's a bit dodgy, but the problem is when a business loses credit rating, well, that's a pretty real problem, you see, because then the bank goes, well, 10 years down the line, well, remember 10 years ago when you wanted to make that payment and you said to us, oh, sorry, bank, but we don't have the money? Well, yeah, that'll mean, no, we might not give you the money, or we might just, shove the interest up, which is worse, is a weird way of thinking things, like, we'll give you a better deal if you're more likely to pay the money, but if you're less likely to pay the money, we'll increase the amount of money you have to pay, which will also increase the chance you won't be able to pay the money. It's kind of a vicious cycle, and it's also kind of stupid. I mean, you think that, I guess it's more like rewarding people who pay their money back by punishing others, because obviously banks aren't going to take money off you because you were the good little person who knew you brought back the money as soon as we asked, They're not going to do that, so they're just going to, reward you basically by just, saying to others, well, we have to show that fella, we have to kind of reward that fella because we're even paying the money back. So we're going to shove it up for you. That kind of the problem that you have there with the whole timing of things. There's also an issue of the level of security needed. See, when it comes to debt capital, the business has to put some assets up in security. Now, if it doesn't pay its debt, it could very well lose these assets. And see, sometimes these assets could be just, small, basic things, not really, not really necessarily needed. They're of value, which means you might come home and you might cry your eyes out because you've lost a lot of value to the business. But what happens if let's say I'm producing product and I paid a fortune to buy this machine, so it's value, and I go, okay, we'll place it on a collateral, and then suddenly it's like, okay, now, you didn't make a payment, so we'll be taking that. And it's like, but I can't run my bit. I need that. That is required to run the business. Yeah, I don't really care. Actually, it's a value, so we're taking that. Actually, it's slightly above what you must pay, but you place this collateral, so that's what we're going to take. Bye. And that's the kind of thing you have there, where it's obviously there's a lot of problems there, but at the end of the day, some people would be in favour of debt capital. There is, of course, the benefit of, you don't lose control. I would say the problem is that with debt capital, there's a lot more risk. So, as long as as long as the loan isn't too much, or the interest isn't too much, that will cause problems later down the line. And as long as, you are not in a risky position, as long as it goes well for you, debt capital is alright. But the problem is, of course, equity capital is a lot safer. If there's a lot more risk, it is a lot safer. And of course, you never know if risk is going to come, so, you might think, well, I'm not going to risk it. And you might go to equity. There's all these sort of things you might go with. Might go with equity, might go with debt. There's different people might go for different reasons. Now, there's also, of course, the idea, which is like, okay, so you've gotten your idea how to expand. You've gotten your money to expand, and you know where you sourced it from. But what will be the impact of expansion on the business? Well, that is something that we'll be talking about in the next video. Please join us then. If not, you can view other videos and you can also subscribe to the channel. That would be absolutely perfect. And if you don't want to view other videos, but now and in the future, this bye-bye for everything. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your existence.